In a previous video, I talked about how I do water changes on my large aquarium, 300 litre aquarium, using a pump and a very long piece of tubing. So on this tank, it's only 60 litres, it's a very small tank. The pump is pretty much overkill to use in here. I didn't really want to use a big pump, especially with small fish and so many plants. So I have found out a way to do water changes using no pump, no electricity, just gravity really. And all it is I use two tubs the same size, a length of hose, vinyl hosing, a rigid piece of pipe, and a connector at the end, like a tap valve at the end. So not a lot of pieces to put together, and to be honest, you don't really need two tubs, just one will do. So it's all connected together here, these three pieces. There's the rigid tubing with the vinyl hose attached. And this tubing is 8mm wide on the inside. So you can actually do the same thing as this with airline tubing. But the airline tubing is 4mm inside diameter. And it just took me too long to fill the tank up with the 4mm. So I went back on eBay and purchased the 8mm. So it's 8mm vinyl hose, 8mm rigid tubing, and then just that tap on the end is for 8mm. And it fills the tank up a lot quicker, but still without disturbing the substrate and the plants in the tank. Because it's quite a low tank, any sort of water that goes in there from like a bucket or even one of these jugs will just disrupt everything. All the plants will come up, all the substrate will stir up. So this way you get a nice little trickle, but not too much. So this is 8mm, airline tubing's 4mm. Airline tubing will work, but it will take twice as long, so it's up to you. But I found that this 8mm works quite well, and I'll show you now. So first we just siphon out the water as usual. The reason I have two containers the same size is so that I can empty a set amount of water into the one container and then fill the tank back up with clean water from the second container at the same size, so I don't have to worry about overflowing the tank or not filling it up enough. So because I measure the water and I can just see the water going into that jug, and then I just put the same amount of water back in, and because it evaporates I do put a little bit more water in, so just take a little bit less water out than you have to put in. The only thing that makes this difficult, well, could make this difficult for some people, is that it needs to be gravity fed. So the actual container that's full of clean water needs to be higher than the tank. So you can see I have mine sat on this shelf at the back. This tap here I'm showing you, you can just turn it on or off, or you can make the flow, reduce the flow. That's quite good use of the tap, and also I can just hook it in there. But you can actually twist it, turn it off, on, or reduce the flow. So this is on full flow with the 8mm tubing, and as you can see it's quite a good flow, but it's not disrupting anything. And like I said, this is a very low tank, so on most aquariums it will be absolutely fine. And it doesn't take too long. But with the 4mm hosing, the airline tubing, it did take quite a while. So you can see this is the container sat on the shelf. It's only slightly higher than the tank itself. It doesn't need to be, up on the ceiling. And it just automatically gravity feeds the water from the container to the tank. And I can literally just leave that going now. So I posted this on Instagram, and some people said, "Oh, why don't you just use a bucket?" You know, which is fine. You know, yeah, why don't you just use a bucket? And like I said, the main reason is because it just disrupts everything. All my plants uproot, all the substrate goes everywhere. It makes a big ditch, and I have to stand there with a heavy bucket full of water over a very thin piece of glass. You know, if I dropped that bucket or just hit the top with a heavy bucket, the tank could smash. I don't want to stand there for 10 minutes pouring a bucket into the water. So this way, because I'm filling the tank up with the same amount of water that I've emptied, I don't even have to watch this. So I've just set the camera here to record this, but I'm not even in the same room. It literally just does it itself. You just siphon the water out and then put the water back in. So all I did to get this siphon going was just to suck the end of the tube, and the water just comes straight through. And the good thing about having two containers is, once I've finished filling this tank up, I then fill the one container straight back up with clean water. And because I do weekly water changes, by the time a week comes around again, then the water has reached room temperature. So it matches the tank, because this tank doesn't have a heater. It sits at room temperature around 21-24 degrees Celsius. Sometimes drops a bit lower, probably 20. So because the water's sitting there all week in the container, the chlorine actually evaporates as well. But you probably still need to use a little bit of dechlorinator for the chloramines. But most of the chlorine will have evaporated out of the water, and the water's room temperature, which is a lot better than either very cold or very hot. Even if you have a heater in this tank, the room temperature water is going to be quite close. So for me, this is a very easy and hassle-free way to do water changes on this aquarium. All you need is those 3 pieces of equipment. I got them off eBay, and then 1 or 2 containers. It's up to you. The containers can obviously be any size. And then once the first container is filled up with the dirty aquarium water, you can then use that container to water your plants, etc. So it's quite a good way of doing it, in my opinion. If anyone's got any better ways, or if anyone has any opinions on the way I do this, then please let me know. Just thought I'd share this with everybody, because I don't know, I like it, I enjoy it. So thank you for watching.